fan. I won't look back ever again. Yeah, and you ain't see me activated. You better hope that you never see me agitated. I think about my actions, plan them out, evaluated. That's how I end up on the top, man, I'm calculated. My mind's a weapon, my body is the engine. I'm never second guessing, I just do what I was destined. Cause I feel I got the blessing.
Welcome to another Avengers video. Today I'm focusing on newbie players who want to get Bucky up to speed, so we will be talking about how to get him ready using only offline dates and one really easy farm. Something new we got for Bucky is the mission chain Winter Kills that basically lets us go all the way to 165 by doing a couple of objectives. However, in order to do this we need to go through both the OLT and the raid, so you actually need a pretty good build to get there. That's what I'm gonna tackle today. Let's take a look at the build. The first thing, we are doing a range build and it's gonna be focused on burst fire, so we're gonna need a lot of precision and Valor will not hurt us either. Proficiency is important but not as much. Our melee slot is basically a stat stick. We want something with Valor and precision, and the third perk being Resolve will help our staying alive quite a bit. This piece here is not perfect, as the third perk could be something a bit more useful, but you can get this exact one on the Substation 0 while offline. Just close the app, disable the network, and change your date to October 12, 2028. You will see it on the ROI vendor. As for the range one, this is the heart of the build, and we are using a self battery with bullet attacks. This piece is really powerful and extremely nice to use. I just spam burst fire, and once your crits start hitting, a vibranium payload will trigger, making your damage go through the roof. This one you can also get offline in Wakanda on the 26th of April of 2025. I was so ecstatic to actually have found it. Our slot 3 is another stat stick, and in this case it's not even perfect. It could be improved by getting precision on top of Valor on it, but I haven't found a better date, so you're more than able to just grab this one and the build will work just fine. In the videos I'm using it and yeah, it's actually great. Just go to the Wakandan vendor on the 3rd of February of 2025 and you will be able to get it. The heroic piece, however, is the other half of the build. And it's amazing. You get Berserker buff, which will increase your damage output a lot, and it's really easy to get 16 hits with Bucky, and additionally you get Assassin's Distraction, that will increase damage, stun and status by 20% on any enemy affected by Marked of Assassination, and this is something we're really gonna exploit. This piece usually you would get from villain sectors, but you can also find it occasionally on the Helicarrier vendor, and I happen to know in which date this appears. This is the 21st of April of 2030. Keep in mind, however, that the Helicarrier is a bit tricky to find the pieces. There's up to 4 different items on each one of the specialty slots, so you might need to refresh the vendor quite a bit. In order to do this, just go to the vendor, speak to him, and while the items are displayed, go inside and out of your character menu. This will refresh them and eventually you will get this marvelous piece. Jump into the ISOs, the first thing we want is more precision, and for that I got you covered. Once again, offline. This one was with Assault Assistance and an Apex Boon, but you could make use of any powerful or support perks too. To grab it, just head to the Substation 0 while offline and speak to Sidney Levine on the 6th of August of 2026. The final piece of the puzzle is an essential perk for any early attempt at endgame content, Cosmic Search. This perk can roll in ISOs as well as slot 3s from the OLT, but it's way easier to get it on the ISOs just by going into a vault and hitting the DNA chests. You have a bit of a chance, probably around 1 in 20, to get this ISO, and it's amazing. What this does is basically every time you take damage, you're gonna get health recovery and heroic recovery, and this is especially important on the OLT because you take damage over time, same as in the Cosmic Threat sectors and some of the tachyon anomalies. This means that you will constantly be regenerating, you don't have to worry about health, and you will constantly get your heroics back, which is amazing. And how do we farm it? So the first thing, you need some DNA keys, and you can get those easily by doing villain sectors. Hopefully you will have a couple just stored, so be sure that you have at least 4 of them. Then store your save. We don't want to be wasting this, and it can take a lot of tries to actually get the ISO we want, so be sure to store your save and reload every couple of tries so we are making efficient use of them. Then you head to any vault. In our case we're going to the forest one, and over there you just need to know the location of a couple of DNA chests, open them, back to the Helicarrier, and repeat. I'm gonna do it on the first ball. Obviously, I sped up the video over here a bit because it takes about 3 minutes to do the whole thing. But yeah, it's as easy as it gets to farm these pieces. Just run to the DNA chest and open it. That's it. We ideally want this ISO with Valor and Precision and maybe Proficiency or Resolve, but it can take a lot of tries to actually get the perfect one. So I recommend that once you get a decent one with either Valor or Precision, just keep it. I kept one with Valor, works perfectly and will make your life way easier in the OLT and a bit easier on the raid too. Final piece of the build is the major artifact, and in this case we're using the Northern Stone. We just want to make our damage buff get there longer and give us extra crit chance, and I don't think there's any reason to run anything else, so just go for it yourself too. So that's the gear, and now on to the skills. Be sure you level up Bucky all the way to 50 so you can use his full kit. For the support heroic, it's not especially important to build since we don't really need the shock from it. Hence, I like being a good teammate and making all my allies invisible, as well as giving them overcharged right from the beginning. If you feel like you're dying a bit too often, you can also swap the second spec so you get some healing out of it. Now the assault is a bit more important because the left spec lets us focus on mark for assassination and trigger it on any enemy we hit, which means 20% extra damage due to our slot 4. The other spec is a bit more of personal choice, but I do really like being overcharged, so I go for the spec that gives me 10% intrinsic bar on every hit. And in the ultimate, we definitely want unlimited ammo, because recharging means no damage, and that pretty much eliminates the need for that. Finally, on the right spec, just pick the one that gives you Heroic Orbs, because that's always a safe bet. The Mastery trees are a bit more interesting. The thing we want first is obviously range damage increase, and then I go for signature damage and Heroic Orbs on takedowns, but this will not make a huge difference on the build, so feel free to change those too. For the range section, we definitely want ammo capacity as well as extra damage for suppressing fire. And on the last tree over there, I like improving stunning spray so I can apply Vibranium Payloads really quickly if I need to, but the charge shot spec also works wonders. As for the intrinsic options, extra damage based on the amount of accumulated intrinsic is great, and you will also want kills to restore a bit of intrinsic energy to keep the engine going. The third tree, once again, it's down to personal choice, but I like building intrinsic. Finally, on the overcharged trees, we really want to make all enemies hit by the Metal Blast get a mark for assassination so we get that sweet damage boost. And also increase our melee and range damage while overcharged. In the final tree, we just go for the safe option, which is getting Heroic Orbs. And that's the build. And you are now fully ready for the OLT and the raid, but there's one more trick to show you. Bucky can actually open the OLT Cages solo. You just need to go to your mastery tree and change the spec to Munition Specialist with Grenades. That way the explosion will hit all 4 buttons. Check it out. And that's the build video for today. The only thing left to do is show you how we can fight the first boss in the raid, completely solo without help from anyone. It's actually a bit longer than I would like to, but it's an early start build and you do not struggle with the giant spider at all. Everything is targeting you and you can still tear everything down and rip apart this mini-boss pretty much immediately once he's done with the invulnerability phases. So yeah, check it out, it takes 3 minutes and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter, you will get a lot of decent offline pieces from there, I promise. Bye!